What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today? And we're back with another episode of the Duenkel Productions Podcast. This is episode 16, and I brought on someone onto the show that knows more about hockey than I do. This man is the GOAT of hockey, Dylan Griffing. Dylan, how you doing, man? And also tell us a little bit about what you kind of do with the NHL stuff. This guy actually got featured on NHL.com. He's a pretty big deal.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dylan Griffing. Follow me on Twitter at Dylan_Griffing. I'm a writer. I cover junior hockey in Russia. Pretty normal stuff. I write for the website Dobber Prospects. And yeah, I was just on NHL.com for the totally wrong reason. They didn't read my tweet at all. I was making fun of a player. They put it as like a highlight for him. It's still up though for some reason, but I'm famous now, I guess.
Hey, it doesn't matter how you get on one of those pro websites. All that matters is you're on there, your stuff's out. Now, Dylan, I will say, man, I've been impressed with how you talk hockey, cover hockey. Obviously, I look to you for a lot of NHL stuff. I know obviously when I was extensively watching the NHL playoffs from the bubble, obviously, I thought the NHL did great on that. Dylan, what did you think about the NHL bubble?
I mean, everything went well. There's no COVID. All the games, no delays.
Yeah.
Covered it better than any other sport has so far. MLB with whatever happened at the end of their game. I don't watch baseball, but there was that whole COVID thing with them. None of that in the NHL. It went straight through. It was good stuff, good hockey, no restrictions, fun.
Yeah, man. So obviously, I hit you up extensively over that period of time about what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But let's talk about my favorite team, the Chicago Blackhawks. What have you seen so far this offseason from them? Obviously, the most notable move, I believe, is letting Crawford go and trading, I believe it was Brandon Saad to the Avalanche.
Yes.
Now, D. Griff, what do you think of those moves? And are the Blackhawks your favorite hockey team, or is there another team I don't know about?
Yes, I'm a Blackhawks fan, until they force me out, which they seem to be trying to do with these moves. So letting Crawford go is just going to really be bad for us this year. We have Malcolm Subban and Colin Delia as our goalies. That's not gonna cut it. So it's just, but he was a free agent. If he didn't want to re-sign, that was on him. And then the Brandon Saad trade. Don't get me started on this one. We traded him for Nikita Zadorov from the Avalanche, who is probably he's bottom pairing defenseman at best. He's big, and that's it. Brandon Saad was, on our first line for most of the year, so losing him it's going to be a big loss and, kind of a big downgrade.
Okay, so yeah, I agree with your first couple points there. Obviously Crawford and Saad are they've been two main staples of the Blackhawks organization from probably about 2010 to right now. Obviously talk about those two guys were on all. I believe they were on all of the cup runs, or Saad was only on 2013 and 2015, but I know they both have won multiple Stanley Cups for the Chicago Blackhawks. They're big time players, obviously big fan players. A lot of players and fans were disappointed to see them go. I will say though, I do like some of the young talent we got though. I mean, this man Dominique Kubalik, man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, D. Griff, man, you know me. I watch a lot of Stanley Cup playoffs. I don't watch as much hockey in the regular season, I'm going to be honest with you. But when it comes to playoff time, I watch hockey very extensively. And Dominique Kubalik really impressed me. I mean, he was all over the ice. I mean, he looked like a young version of, some of the best in the game. I mean, he looked like a young Patrick Kane out there. one of the NHL NBC guys made that reference. But yeah, I think the Hawks are definitely going for rebuild. Do you think they're going to be a playoff team this year, or you don't think so?
They're not really going for a rebuild, which is, it's like they're starting to, and they've kind of been like that for the past, like 4 years that they haven't made the playoffs now.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're just not committing to it. It seemed like the Brandon Saad trade is gonna be the thing that like pushes them over, but then they traded him for another NHL player, not really futures. But this season, I don't see them making the playoffs unless there's another, extended play-in like they did last season. Just because our defense is old and not very good. Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook aren't top pairing guys. And then we let Slater Cuckoo walk, and he was easily one of our best defensemen last year. We traded Oli Mata for nothing. So it kind of leaves us with Calvin DeHaan, who can't stay healthy, and Connor Murphy, who's like arguably our best defenseman. And then the goalies, obviously, we did have nothing there. But we do have a good forward group. If they don't regress over the next couple of years, there could be something there still, as long as we can build on that defense. But this season, I don't see us making the playoffs unless they let in all the teams again.
Yeah, I agree. I will say, I don't really see the Hawks making it. I mean, letting Crawford go for me was kind of like the thing where Crawford and Saad left. I was just kind of like, this feels like a non-playoff team now. Obviously Crawford is old, but I was really impressed with him, especially in that Vegas series. I mean, we were obviously outmatched. I mean, it was clear Vegas was the better team. But I mean, if you look at games 3, 4, and 5, Crawford really kept us in those games. I mean, we obviously, I believe game 3 was it, Dylan? You would obviously know this better than I do, but that went to overtime, correct? It was like
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so that game went to overtime, and then the Hawks won 2-1 in game 4, and then lost in a nail biter in game 5. So I think that, obviously we had a really good run in the playoffs. I was very surprised we beat Edmonton.
Yeah, that was a kind of a shocker there. I didn't see that coming.
I mean, I'll say this, man. I remember watching game 1 of that series. I'm like, a lot of people are writing the Hawks off. And I said to my dad, I go, I wouldn't count them out just yet. And he goes, really? You think they're going to beat Edmonton? I'm like, I don't know if they'll beat Edmonton, but I think this could be a 5-game series. And he goes, really? And then sure enough, they came out on fire in game 1. And I was like, wow. And then obviously, playing Vegas, I mean, Vegas, they're a really good team. They're a very physical team. Obviously, you talk about Brian Reeves. He's a very physical dude.
Oh, yeah. Don't want to mess with that guy.
No, but I mean, it was so good to see the Hawks just win that series. It almost I think just gave Chicago a little bit of a jolt, especially
there was some hope.
Yeah, like there were people on Twitter, and obviously I'm sure you know this, that were saying Hawks all the way, Hawks all the way.
I don't think they were going that far.
Dude, I had some people sending me that, and I'm like, I don't know, Vegas can be a tough. But no, the Edmonton series, that was so fun to watch. I mean, you talk about the way the Hawks played in that series. I mean, arguably Duncan Keith too. I mean, Duncan Keith had the series of his life. Doc Emrick, obviously, retirement. We hope it goes all well for Doc. I'm gonna miss that man. But he was talking about how great Duncan Keith was, and I'm just I was sitting back man, Keith is doing an outstanding job. Because obviously, you have McDavid and Draisaitl, 2 of the best offensive players in the game. I mean, McDavid's one of the fastest hockey players I've ever seen. He's fast.
It's unreal how quick he is. I'm surprised because, I mean, the thing with Edmonton, voice crack, is that they don't have that forward depth they have the top six. They have Draisaitl, McDavid, Yamamoto was good this year.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of who can you put with them to look good and, just pass it to McDavid, then get it back and maybe score, or give it to McDavid so he can score. So you kind of just put anyone there. And then once you get down to their bottom six, it's just these guys aren't like anything special. You can attack them and kind of be more passive when you have McDavid and Draisaitl coming against you.
So Dylan, what are your thoughts on Doc Emrick retiring, man? I mean, I was struck by the news. I remember I was watching something on TV, and all of a sudden my phone started blowing up with #ThankYouDoc. I'm like, why are we thanking Doc Emrick? I mean, the man's the GOAT without question. But like, and then all of a sudden I'm reading like he retired. Like, what are your thoughts on that, man?
It's sad, you're gonna miss him. The energy he had, made the games better. Made them enjoyable with some of our games this year. Not that good of a team, but when you have someone calling the games who's going to be screaming at every goal, just brings you up. Then, it's going to suck.
Yeah, I mean, I always look, anytime Doc Emrick is calling a hockey game, I almost get a little hyped up. Like, let's go, Doc Emrick's calling this game.
You throw your plans out. You're gonna watch this one.
Yeah. Like, I remember, I was sitting there and I was watching something, and all of a sudden, the hockey game comes on or whatever. So I turn it on. I think it was in the playing round for the number one. It was Colorado and Vegas, I believe. And, I turn it on. I'm like, oh, Doc Emrick's calling this game. We're going to keep the channel locked. Watch that whole game. Wonderful.
Can't miss this.
I mean, dude, you cannot miss Doc Emrick. I mean,
he elevates it, makes the game so much better.
Yeah, and I was even I was talking to my one buddy the other day because he's like, you're really that into hockey? I'm like, I mean, yeah. I mean, I like watching playoff hockey. It's fun to watch. I mean, it really is. And I'm like, it's not going to be the same without Doc Emrick. I mean, no matter who they put in his place, it's not going to have that same feel. Even in the video games. By the way, EA Sports, if you're watching this, put Doc Emrick back in the video game, man. It is absolutely ridiculous. So you would take a legend out of the booth because he was in there at 19, and then you load up 20, and he ain't in there. I'm like, this is disappointing.
They're replacing with Snoop Dogg.
What?
You know Snoop Dogg's in the game?
Oh, I know he's in the game.
After the first intermission, he randomly pops in basically every game. And he has the same few lines every game, and it gets so annoying, but you leave him on good Snoop Dogg.
Dude, I mean, Snoop and Doc Emrick calling a hockey game? Dude,
I'd buy NHL 22 just for that.
Oh, dude, for sure. But no, it really came as a surprise to me. I mean, obviously you think about Doc Emrick, you think about all the great calls. I mean, you think about so many of them. I mean, the Game 7, Ottawa against Pittsburgh. You obviously think back to even last year. I mean, that Stars Tampa Bay elimination game was one of his best calls. I mean, even all the Blackhawks calls. I mean, the Kane goal.
Oh, yeah.
The Brandon Saad breakaway against St. Louis. Like that, those calls, I just, you're always thinking it's Doc Emrick. Like, he's the announcing GOAT. Like, I mean, there are so many good announcers, like, don't get me wrong, but that man's the GOAT without question.
He's just a tier above.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, obviously, you pair him with Eddie Olczyk, Pierre Maguire, obviously, great guy inside the glass. I think it would be cool to watch a hockey game inside the glass. Never done it before. But, maybe someday.
Maybe.
But, D-Griff, let's talk about next year's Stanley Cup. Who do you think's going to be in it and why?
Well, I'm thinking you're looking at the top teams. Tampa, obviously.
Yep.
Every year they come back. They're always good. They still have some players to sign this offseason. They don't have a lot of cap, but they have Chiarelli and Sergachev they still have to bring back.
Big guys,
Be a
big guys.
That'll be a big test if they can succeed next year. Then you're looking at like the Avalanche, who obviously just got Saad. They have some young guys. I think Bowen Byram is going to be playing this year. He was a top 10 pick in the 2019 draft. They just have a lot of good guys. Not like a great team, I don't think, but there's definitely a good chance that they'll be like making a big run. And you're looking at obviously Vegas. Maybe Dallas can have another big run like they did last year, if depending on how their goalies do, I guess. Just kind of those are like my main, well, 4 or 5. Yeah, 5 to be like big contenders, and I think you're looking at Tampa to be the favorite again.
Okay, so you're not highly on Boston?
Not really. Torrey
No?
Krug is probably going to be a big loss for their power play, in my opinion. Some people think that they'll be fine because they have Pastrnak, Marchand, Bergeron.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I did kind of overlook them. They made some good moves over the offseason despite losing Krug. They got Craig Smith as a free agent. Andre Kasha they traded for last year from Anaheim. He's a top 6 winger if he can stay healthy. They're good, but they have a lot of health concerns, I guess you could say.
Okay, so I've done extensive research.
He was giving me updates.
Oh yeah. Whenever I do these shows too, I always come up with kind of like an outline or something to go off of for the show that I usually have sitting next to me over here. And obviously I was thinking about this one, and I've been wanting D Griff to join my show ever since I started this. I'm like, D Griff, you gotta join me, talk some NHL. Dylan, man, this dude is awesome. So I had to do my research, and I'm gonna tell you my 4 teams are Tampa Bay, Boston, Golden Knights, and Dallas Stars. Those are going to be my top 4. Tampa, I mean, obviously you talk about Tyler Johnson, Stamkos, Vasilevsky was very, very good in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, that game, that 5 overtime game was insane. Him and what's the Columbus guy?
It was it Korpisalo that game?
Korpisalo, yep. Yeah, those guys duked it out. That was awesome to watch. But no, Tampa, obviously you mentioned it. They have 2 big guys they need to bring back. Hopefully they can bring those guys back. But they're going to be right there again. Boston, you mentioned it. Marchand and Bergeron. These guys are big-time players.
And Pastrnak, don't forget about him.
And Pastrnak, yes. Pasta from the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. That one cracked me up.
That's how he got his fame.
Yeah. So Boston, obviously, I think they're going to be there. I think Boston would have made some more noise if they didn't lose Tuukka Rask. I think they would have made more noise. I think that Tampa series would have been a little bit more competitive. To be honest with you, I still probably would say Tampa in 7, but maybe if they have Rask, who knows? But I think Boston will be right back there. And then you obviously talk about the Western Conference. You got to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, this team is a great team, very much talented. They're very physical, very tough. I really like. Didn't they sign Alex Pietrangelo?
They did.
That is a huge move. That's a huge move. I feel like not a lot of people are really like talking about it, but like obviously, I don't follow like every hockey person out there, so I don't know. But I feel like people need to be talking about the Vegas Golden Knights as like the favorites. Like I think they're the favorites. Pietrangelo, obviously being a Blackhawks fan, watch a lot of the St. Louis Blues. Pietrangelo is a great talent, great player. St. Louis is really going to miss him. And then, I mean, you talk about the last team, the Dallas Stars. Last year, I was very impressed with Dallas. I mean, here's the thing. I did not realize they signed Pavelski because, like, they're talking about Pavelski. I'm like, Isn't he on the San Jose Sharks?
I'm not watching a Sharks game. What is this?
Yeah, yeah. And then I'm like, yo,
That was a weird signing.
Yeah, but I mean, it was a great signing. I mean, you look at the playoffs he was Captain America himself. You know, I even think that they were tweeting he's Captain America or something. That's where I got that
Probably.
from. But no, Dallas, I think they're going to be right back there. My matchup next year though, Tampa Bay against Vegas. I think that's probably going to be the matchup. Sleeper team though, D Griff, really far off sleeper team, Columbus Blue Jackets.
Oh,
Dude. Okay, so let me explain because I know you're like no, but dude,
you have to convince me big time here.
Dude, Seth Jones, man, this dude is a man amongst boys.
You don't want to get me started on Seth Jones. You're not gonna like what you're gonna hear.
What's wrong with
Seth Jones? Is arguably the most overrated player in the NHL at the moment.
How so?
His numbers aren't good, man. He doesn't. I'm into those analytics, you know.
Yeah, I know.
He has good micro stats, as they call them, but he doesn't make a good impact. He's not a top pairing defenseman. That's where they struggle. Werenski and Jones aren't as good as people say they are.
Dude, I don't know, man. I freaking watched them. I watched them play, and it was so impressive to me. I mean, Seth Jones played arguably the most minutes like in his career by a lot. And this man freaking came to the microphone after the game like he just played a normal game. I'm like, dude, this man he's unreal. I mean, I will say, D Griff, you know, maybe he is a little overrated. You know, obviously I'm not a huge hockey analytical guy. But you know, he might be a little overrated. But
I'll give a quick little shout out to my friend Jay Fresh. He does analytics on Twitter. He did a whole article on Seth Jones.
Okay.
Anyone can check that out if they're interested. It's just Twitter at JFreshHockey.
Okay.
He's been
Jay Fresh Hockey. Make sure you guys check him out.
He covers more NHL stuff. I do prospect stuff, so I don't really, you know, cover the NHL that much. But Seth Jones is a player I always see on my Twitter, and it's just like, I don't think he's all that good.
I don't know, man. I think the Blue Jackets are a long shot. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, they're not in my like top 5, but they're a long shot team.
They signed 37-year-old Mikko Koivu, a Minnesota Wild legend.
Dude, Mikko Koivu is a Minnesota legend, bro.
Yeah.
That dude is a Minnesota legend. So
can still play some mean defense.
So, D Griff, now obviously, man, I know you're huge into prospects. What did you think of the draft? Like, what are your thoughts? Who won? Who won the draft? Is this number 1 pick guy any good? To be honest, I haven't really heard much of him. Who's the guy that you're really looking for as kind of a sleeper as well?
So number 1 pick, Alexis Lafreniere to the Rangers. He had one of the best draft years we've seen ever, really. But I mean, his ceiling is probably up there with like Austin Matthews. It's not like Connor McDavid level, but we're looking at like another like just really good. He's kind of a playmaker, but he can shoot the puck really well.
Okay.
Very good player. Then 2nd overall, Quinton Byfield, LA Kings, big center. He doesn't really use his size that much. He's more just a playmaker, but you know, he joins in on defense. He can use his body whenever he wants. He's going to be a top 6 center in the future, maybe a number 1 center for his team, depending on how his development goes, obviously. The biggest winner, I'll circle back to that one, but
okay.
I'll go with some. I got to think about that one a little bit.
All right.
My biggest sleeper picks are both from the Minnesota Wild. We got Marco Rossi, I believe he went 9th overall, and Murat Kuznetsov, who went in the 2nd round. He's my Russian boy. They're both small centers. Loads of fun. I watched Kuznetsov all throughout the year. He played in the Russian Junior League that I cover.
Yeah.
Great motor. He zooms around the ice. He's a little hound. He goes after everyone. Just a lot of fun to watch. Biggest loser. I mean, Arizona Coyotes, you have to talk about them because they made that controversial Mitchell Miller pick with their first pick of the draft. Did you hear about that at all?
No, I did not. What's up
I
with it?
I won't go super in depth because it's kind of a not very good subject here, but
Okay.
Mitchell Miller was somebody who I personally had him ranked, I believe, in the 3rd round. A lot of people liked him, and then this news article from when he was 14.
Yeah.
He was kicked out of school for bullying this kid, but it wasn't like really bullying. It was straight up abuse. He was,
my God.
yeah. I won't go super in depth here. There's articles. If you just look up Mitchell Miller, you'll be able to find it anywhere. So they eventually lapsed his rights, so they no longer have him, which was the best thing to do. Like besides not taking him, but they obviously didn't do that. So they didn't really have much of a draft there. The Columbus Blue Jackets took an overage Russian at 21st overall, Igor Chinnikov, who I had ranked in the 7th round at best, and they took him 21st overall. So that's a pick I was very confused about. But the biggest winner, I'd venture to go with the Wild. Maybe the Dallas Stars. They got Maverick Bourque late on the 1st. He's a player that I really like. San Jose Sharks. They had the 3rd overall pick that they traded to the Senators, which became Tim Stützle. But they got Daniil Gushchin, Brandon Coe, Ozzy Wiesblatt, among others. Just a really good draft from them.
So D Griff, I like a lot. I like the analysis you bring to the show. I love it because obviously, like some of these guys you're naming, like I don't know that too well, but I love the perspective on like kind of where you had them ranked on your prospect board, kind of your draft. So what kind of goes into it when you're looking at a prospect? What do you kind of look for? Like, is there certain like top 3 things or 2 things that you really look for to say the player is going to be this?
I mean, one of the first things you see is kind of how they read the ice, how they read play and anticipate play. If a player's doing that at a low level, you're kind of going to be like, well, what's he going to do at the next level when he's playing harder competition, harder opponents? If they can't read and understand the game at this level, what are they going to do against harder? For the second, I'd probably look at, I guess, how quickly they react. I guess it's kind of the same thing. But their motor would be a good thing. How quickly they're going from point A to point B, how long it's going to take them to get there. And then that kind of goes back to how they anticipate the play, because if they're not anticipating it, they're not going to be able to get there quick enough, and it's going to lead to a not good play from them.
Gotcha. So yeah, that really gives me a lot of insight because obviously you're talking about guys that are going higher than your projections, and it's kind of interesting. But for sure, man. Do you write like stuff where you post on Twitter about like kind of your draft boards or whatnot, or is that?
So I just kind of post mine on Twitter whenever I feel like I've updated them enough.
Okay.
I think I did it like 5 or 6 times for the 2020 draft, and I still wasn't, completely happy with my rankings until after the draft, I guess.
Gotcha.
So yeah, last year I did a full top 124.
Wow.
And then after that I split up into tiers. This year I'm gonna do just a top 64 because 124 is too much.
Yeah. Make sure you're on the lookout for that though when the 2021 draft comes around. Make sure to go support Don, man, because this dude's a G in hockey town, man.
I'm working on my 2021 ones right now. I was getting them set up earlier today. I don't know when they're going to be ready to post, but
hey,
there's some fun players this year.
That's good stuff, man. But real quick, before this will be kind of the last thing, I want to ask you, who do you believe is the best player in the National Hockey League right now at this moment? Who's the best?
Best player right now.
Yep.
I'm between two here.
Okay, what are the two?
Sean Couturier of the Philadelphia Flyers.
Okay.
And Mark Stone of the Vegas Golden Knights. You weren't expecting those names, were you?
No, I was expecting a Crosby, McDavid, Draisaitl, but Mark Stone. Don't get me wrong, Mark Stone's a beast. I mean, he's good in
Couturier.
Yeah. Interesting. From Philadelphia.
Yes.
I don't know much about him, but Mark Stone.
He won the Selke this year, the best defensive forward. Probably not the year he should have won it. He probably should have won it last year, 2 years ago. But I mean, he finally got it this year. Good for him.
So then, who are the others that you would throw in the conversation?
The others,
yeah.
I mean, you're looking at Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah.
I guess you could start throwing in McDavid, Crosby. Crosby kind of had a down year because of injuries this year.
Yeah.
For defensemen, I guess there's Victor Hedman, Roman Josi up there. Josi won the Norris this year. Jared Spurgeon, Dougie Hamilton. And then kind of an out there one would be Elias Pettersson. He's only I think this was his second season. Third.
He's on Vancouver, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And he's very, 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 very good.
Yeah.
Probably one of my favorite players right now.
Yeah, definitely. Elias Pettersson, that's a good one. I would definitely say he's up there. For me, it's definitely one of the guys you mentioned. Let's see if you can guess. Who do you think I'm gonna say best player in the NHL is?
Is it Connor McDavid?
No.
Ooh, Sidney Crosby?
No.
Nathan McKinnon?
Yeah. Nathan McKinnon, I think, is the best. I watched the guy play a lot throughout the playoffs. Obviously, I think he had one of the greatest streaks, point streaks ever. This guy, to me, he looks like the best player in the NHL right now. I'd obviously at least say you could throw Crosby, McDavid. Obviously, you could throw those guys up there. I really like Roman Josi. He's an underrated guy. I think not a lot of people think of him as top tier player. They think of him as a really good player, but not like that top tier level. And I think, but Mark Stone, that's an interesting name, D. Griff. I will say I did not expect that. But
I value defense and forwards, and he's a two-way forward. He's, the description of a two-way forward, offense, defense. He's all around the ice. That's the thing that McDavid, Draisaitl, they don't do. They don't play defense. That's why they're lower for me than these Couturiers and Stones.
Yeah, McKinnon for me, I like watching him. I mean,
he's a lot of fun.
He's a big-time talent. Obviously, I wish I could say Kane and Taves, but they're not.
They've fallen off big time.
Yeah, I wouldn't say big time. I think Taves hasn't fallen off that much.
I mean, if you're looking back, he kind of peaked in I think it was 2012, 2015. That kind of.
I know.
That's where he was good, bro. We got to be realistic here. They're not as good as they were, but we got this new crop of kids coming in: Kubalik, DeBrincat, Strome.
Dude, I love Kubalik, man. That dude probably gonna be my favorite NHL player in the next.
He can rip it.
But no, man. Obviously, I know much more about hockey now, which is great. D. Griff, you can catch me on Twitter talking about the NHL playoffs next year. I'll probably even watch the first couple games, just because obviously, with COVID going on, been staying low, staying at home a lot.
There are any games this year, You never know.
Oh, D. Griff, maybe we get another bubble, man. Maybe we get another bubble. All the teams, the Hawks make it.
We got we're starting January 1st for now.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Since
probably. I
January
mean,
1st.
that's what
Day.
they've been going for.
I
Who
love it.
knows though?
D Griff, can't say enough good things about you, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I
My
appreciate
pleasure, man.
it without question. Stay on after the show. We'll talk, catch up, obviously talk a little bit of personal stuff, because we don't do really too much personal on the podcast, because we keep it mainly sports, and you're the hockey guy, you're the hockey wizard, man. But
Yes.
make sure y'all check him out though, Dylan Griffing. I'm gonna leave the link down below. Make sure you guys check this guy out on Twitter. He does a lot of great work. Really good prospect stuff. Like he's been saying, he broke it down. He broke down last year's draft, and his top 64 may be coming soon. So make sure you guys check him out. I appreciate y'all so much for
Almost at 2K. Almost at 2K.
Almost at 2K. Well, congratulations, Dylan. I appreciate you so much. Everybody, thank you for watching. Make sure to go follow Dylan on Twitter. I will have it linked below. Thank you.